Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name's Peter McLeod, editor of Logistics Business Magazine, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you all to the latest webinar from Logistics Business, brought to you today by Koerber Supply Chain, entitled Empowering People, Enhancing Performance, BES's Warehouse Transformation. Today, I'm talking with Steve Standley, Operations Manager of BES Limited, and also with Alex Parkinson, who's Business Analyst for Koerber Supply Chain. Gentlemen, welcome to this webinar, and thank you both for joining us today. So, over the next 30 minutes or so, we're going to be talking about a particular BES fulfillment facility, which has been positively transformed in recent years.
Steve Stanley. I'm the operations manager here at BES. I've been with the business now for 3 years. I've worked in logistics and warehousing for about 20 years. And my goal really coming into BES was to organise the warehouse with the additional volumes that we were receiving, streamline processes and introduce technology into the workplace.
And what does BES actually do?
So BES is a gas, heating and plumbing suppliers. We mainly supply to B2B, but during COVID we saw a massive upturn with B2C business as well.
My name is Alex Parkinson. I'm a business analyst at Koerber Supply Chain for Northern Europe. I've been with the business just over 9 years now, and worked within supply chain and logistics for just over 20.
And for those of us who are not familiar with Koerber Supply Chain, can you say in a nutshell what Koerber does for the industry?
Yes, so Koerber predominantly we deal with supply chain software, so everything that goes on within the four walls of the warehouse through warehouse management systems, robotics, voice picking solutions, and simulation. We also have some other products as well that we refer to as our connector products, our WCS for controlling fixed automation, and our UCS products, which is predominantly used within the autonomous mobile robot markets.
All right, fabulous. So today we're talking about how a specific facility has been optimized. And perhaps over to you, Steve. Perhaps you can tell me about this facility. Where is it? What sort of goods you've got going through there, and how are they fulfilled? You know, end users, etc. B2C, B2B. So over to you.
Yeah, no worries. We've got an 90,000 square foot shed in Aston, Birmingham. And as I said earlier, we do the heating, gas and plumbing spares, and that could be anything from a washer that's the size of a 5p piece up to a 6 metre pipe, and we pride ourselves on the next day delivery.
And is that going into businesses or consumers? Is that fulfilled through vans and lorries, or have you got a pickup facility at the site?
We mainly use the carriers, but we've got a nice split of B2B and B2C. So trade engineers will use us for B2B, and we have a lot of e-commerce customers that will buy as and when. We also got a site pickup, so you can order online and then come and collect the order from site.
Right. So I think you referenced it earlier on. COVID's made a little bit of a change to the way the business has been run there. What were the factors that you saw changing when COVID started to hit around the facility?
We've always had a strong B2B customer base, but we saw the B2C customer base increased by about 30 to 35%. And the way of the world now, everybody wants the deliveries next day, so there was a massive focus on customer service. The default response is to get more people in to cope with the volume, and I suppose once you know that our volume sustained, we knew we had to do something to streamline the process.
I gather it was quite a paper-based process prior to Koerber becoming involved. You know, maybe talk about some of the challenges around that, if you would, please.
Yeah, definitely. So the orders were taken over the phone or through the internet. The orders would be printed off on pieces of paper, brought through to the warehouse from the sales office. The warehouse would try and assemble them into some sort of picking order. But for the bigger volume orders that we have, one picker would end up walking around the whole of the facility to try and complete the 65 lines. The customer will order small spares and bigger spares, so it became quite a time-consuming pick, if you like, with potentially the picker coming back to the central point numerous times to deposit the goods.
Oh, wow, that sounds delightfully old-fashioned. I guess it's at this point, Alex, that Koerber starts getting involved.
Yes, absolutely, Peter. So we first went down and we met Steve and the team, and we spent some time reviewing the operation. On the back of that, we made some proposals to Steve on what we thought we could do, and the benefits that a voice picking solution could bring to the operation at BES.
Let's have another look at the Koerber solution in action at BES. I guess from going from a paper-based solution to an automated one, there were some very obvious gains to be made there. What do we call it? Low-hanging fruit in the game. What were you seeing there that you were the immediate gains that you could implement?
So we have been delivering voice solutions into many businesses across the UK over the years, and we have seen across the paper picking operations all of the challenges that the team were experiencing at BES. Things like just not picking efficiently, not having any sort of real-time updates into the system, stock profile being quite poor in terms of getting to a pick location, the right stock might not be in that location, and accuracy as well, which is quite a key one when we look at paper picking operations. So we were quite confident that using our middleware, K.Motion, Wes, Voiceman Picking, would bring some really good benefits to the operation at BES.
Right. So you introduced automation into the process. What sort of levels of automation there? What were the processes that were automated, and what type of equipment were you did you recommend should be put in place?
Okay, so there's a few elements to that, Peter. I think in terms of the solution that we've put in at BES, we as I mentioned, we have our picking middleware application, K.Motion Wes Voiceman Picking, which is a picking application that receives data from the host system, and then through a set of defined rules, we look to optimize the orders so that when they get picked in the warehouse, we start to get some accuracy and some productivity gains using voice directed work through a headset. So the operators have a device, a Honeywell A710X device, along with a Honeywell SRX3, and through the headset they receive voice instructions to go and pick various items from various areas of the warehouse. As Steve mentioned previously, in the way that they were working, one operator would attempt to pick everything across the warehouse. One of some of the rules that we introduced as part of our middleware solution was to look at splitting the warehouse into 5 or 6 smaller zones based upon the product profiles that were in those areas. So we have anything from the small 5p seals that Steve mentioned before, right up to the 6-meter pipes and boilers and radiators and everything else that comes with those big products that are notoriously difficult to handle across the supply chain. So what we did, we looked at that holistically. We split that out into 5 or 6 different picking zones, and then operators work within a much smaller area of the warehouse. They have the responsibility to pick the products for the orders in those areas, and then we set up and defined a marshal bay on the loading bay, and that area has hundreds of marshal bays, and each order can be assigned to a marshal bay. So as an operator is picking products from the different zones, if you're the first operator to pick a product for an order, you would be asked to allocate a marshal bay ID, and then anybody else who is picking products from around the warehouse is directed to take their products to that marshal bay, so that the entire order will come together And then once that order is complete, the packing team have visibility of that, and they can pack, label, and dispatch the order. So that is the manual part of the warehouse. But then when we start talking around the automation piece, Steve also has 4 Cardex towers in the warehouse, which is where BES store the more slow moving stock and things like that. Now, when we got on site, we quite quickly realized that with our voice solution, we would need to integrate into the Cardex automation.
Okay, now I'm gonna maybe just turn the clock back a few minutes. You're talking about the concept, and we need to go from concept to implementation. And I think, Steve, this is where I bring you back in. Sometimes there's almost a bit of a fear of automation within a workforce. Oh no, we're going to lose our jobs. Oh no, the machines are coming to take our jobs. Was there an element there of having to sort of get hearts and minds involved amongst the workforce, or was it quite an easy sell to say, look, actually, we can make your job more pleasant. We can enhance your workday experience.
It was quite a challenge because we've got quite a few long-standing members of staff that have been here some time. They are used to the paper picking, and as you say, as soon as you mention automation, people do get worried. But what we managed to do was set up a good user acceptance testing environment. Each person had lots of time. Some people picked it up within minutes. Some people needed a bit more attention, but it's just giving them that time, giving them that experience. And to be fair, since we've gone live, I haven't heard anybody mention going back to paper picking, which is always a good sign. So,
yeah, goodness me, we don't want to go back to paper picking, do we?
oh.
And then, so then moving on to the implementation. I mean, was the business disrupted in any way during this time? There must have been a few hiccups along the way. How did that phase go?
To be fair, Peter, we were very lucky. We spent lots of time doing the testing. The people were very used to the solution. We've done some volume testing outside of hours to see what issues we come across. And to the day that we actually went live, we maintained our current service level, so there was no problem on that front.
Fabulous. You couldn't ask for more than that. I'm interested in the Cardex solution, Alex. Are we talking about sort of automated storage and retrieval for smaller parts here? And if that's the case, could you perhaps talk a little bit about how the operators interact with that technology using the voice solution?
Yeah, exactly that, Peter. It's a storage, automated and retrieval. But the 4 towers that Steve has at BES. So when we went into the operation and we first started looking at the process and how they work today, we quickly realised that around 40% of the orders that got picked and dispatched contained the products that came from the Cardex towers. Now, the way that the business works is that they are at the very beginning of all processes. So in terms of orders getting picked across the warehouse, it's very important that the products from the Cardex towers get picked in a quick and efficient manner, so not to delay anything else within the business, any other orders or any other parts that have come from any other zones. So it became apparent quite quickly that we were going to need to integrate into the Cardex software that drives the shelving. But what we did with that, myself and Steve, we had some really interesting conversations around how we could try and make it more efficient. So spent quite a bit of time watching the guys. They had a couple of operators that work on these Cardex towers. And I think it would take them between 4 and 6 hours to pick out the products that they needed. And there was a lot of key pressing and quite a lot of dead time as well. As with this type of fixed automation, it could only present one location at a time. So operators would press the keypad and could be stood there for up to 60 seconds, waiting for the next shelf to be presented. So when we had a chat around this, I was like, I'm sure that we can make this a bit more efficient. And because of our middleware solution holding all of the orders for the warehouse and for the Cardex towers, we knew in our software what shelves needed to be presented in what sequence for those products to be picked. So using API integration from our middleware solution, we send over some data to the software that runs the Cardex towers, And now what we do is actually trigger the shelves to start cycling on their own without needing any human interaction. So this has cut down the wait time dramatically in terms of people having to be stood and waiting for shelves. We tell the solution, we tell the Cardex software what locations we need, and when you are watching it, all the towers actually start cycling themselves. It's really a nice sight. So I think we've managed to get that down from 2 operators for 4 to 6 hours, where Steve now has 1 operator using voice integrated into the Cardex towers, picking out all the products that they need in around 2 hours a day.
Normally in these cases, when I hear we've had interesting conversations, it means it's a bit of a euphemism for, we had a little bit of a fight. But I think genuinely in this case, it does sound like you have had some interesting conversations into how to improve the efficiency there. Alex, can you talk a little bit about some of the performance management aspects that came along with this solution, please?
Yes, no worries, Peter. So along with our middleware application, we also provide a reporting suite as well, which gives BES the visibility of who's picked what products, when they have picked it, and all the order detail that goes with that as well. There's also some dashboards, so Steve can take a look and see how the operation is performing that day, being able to look at the reports and the dashboards to make sure he's got the right people in the right place at the right time, to ensure that everything gets shipped out of the door at the end of that day. Make sure that all the carrier times and are hit by the business.
And then from your side, Steve, it sounds like you've got an operation there that's a lot smoother to manage than previously.
Yeah, we definitely got more visibility on what people are doing and how much work we've got coming in and how much is due out that night. So that in itself is a massive benefit.
So benefits, okay. No one's going to tell me how much you've saved costs wise, but we have to assume that the fulfillment running at the level that it currently is being done at a more cost-effective level than previously. What other sort of knock-on benefits do you feel have come your way since the implementation of this solution, Steve?
So the performance has improved a lot, as you just touched on, and we're using less hours now in the operation, and we've actually extended our cut-off times. So prior to the implementation, it was 7 o'clock for next day delivery, and we've extended that to 9 o'clock now for next day delivery, which keeps us ahead of the competitors. We have the collection point, which was an hour pickup, which we've now reduced down to 30 minutes. So the customers are seeing the benefits of those. We've seen a reduction in paper. So as Alex said earlier, as we were printing off the copies on the original system, there were 2 copies of each paper coming off. Now we've reduced that to 1 because it's a hands-free picking system. And I think over the last year, we've probably saved about 5 tonne in paper, and obviously the toner costs alongside that.
That's a lot of trees that you haven't cut down, I have to say.
Yeah.
And what about the sort of the feelings amongst the workforce now? Sounds like you've created a pretty harmonious environment for them to be working in.
They actually enjoy the technology. It's made their lives easier. They're not walking as much, and they're far more efficient. So they've had the investments, and they're enjoying it.
Alex, from your side, this seems like I've been to a lot of warehouses over the years. This one sounds like it's all gone pretty well. Any challenges along the road? Any sort of bumps in the road?
No, I don't think so. And I'll just reference back to something that I said before, Peter, about the interesting conversations around the Cardex. Now, in terms of challenges, that was something new for me. I don't think that there's any voice provider ever integrated a voice solution into that type of automation. I believe it was an industry first to have a voice solution driving a fixed automation solution such as the Cardex towers. So it really genuinely, and I'm smiling. It was an interesting conversation. You know, me and Steve sat down, and it was like, right, how are we going to do this? But to be honest, quite quickly, we got to the point of getting the software provider for the Cardex towers. We got them on a call with me and Steve, And we thrashed it out quite quickly based upon how we would do it. And it just works. It just works extremely well. So not really a challenge or a bump in the road, but something a little bit different from a voice solution perspective that I hadn't done before. And it works really well.
And the BES business, is it seasonal at all, Steve? Are you getting sort of peaks and troughs in the flow of flow through the warehouse?
Towards the winter, obviously being gas and heating, we tend to get more work, but we've picked up volumes all across the year, so that's only good for us. And extending those service levels and giving the next day delivery to the customers, only enhancing our profile.
And Alex, does the system have a sort of a flexibility to it to soak that up, and also potentially sort of future proofing to soak up anything that may come down the line in the future as the BES business changes or grows?
Yes, absolutely, Peter. Me and Steve, we speak quite regularly, and any business changes, we have other software products as well that are going to aid and help assist Steve with the growth of the business going forward, that we're actively talking about now. So yeah, there's other software products that we're going to work together on. Today we predominantly spoke around picking, but as everybody knows, there's a lot more than picking that goes on within the four walls of the warehouse. So yeah, it's actually looking like a really exciting future. And as I said, we work closely together and speak regularly.
Well, gentlemen, it's been a thoroughly interesting and fascinating conversation we've had, talking about the transformation that's taken place. It's been a great pleasure talking to you about it, and thank you both very much for the time you've allowed us to question you about it. Sadly, we are running out of time today, so it leaves me just to say once again, thank you both very much, Steve and Alex, for your participation today, and also thank you, the viewers, for joining us in this logistics business webinar. So to conclude, I'd just like to say on behalf of Logistics Business and Koerber Supply Chain, thank you from me, Peter McLeod, for joining us today. Particularly, thank you, Steve, for finding time in your busy schedule. And until the next Logistics Business webinar, from me, it's goodbye.